Good afternoon, everyone. I pray that your Monday you found spaces and places of joy, of peace, where you could sing a song, where you could dance like nobody was looking, where maybe you planted in your garden, or maybe you worked on a project. Anything that gave you a sense of satisfaction. And if that did not happen for you, that can be your goal for today. I want to continue our conversation about community, and I want to talk about how to thrive in a community. How to thrive in a community. Well, the short and simple answer of how do you thrive in a community is by communication, by communicating, by expressing how you feel, by not keeping everything inside. I'll give you an example. A lot of times in communities, there's a lot of what the old folks would call backbiting or talking about people behind their back. It happens in all kinds of communities. It happens in churches, it happens in temples, it happens in mosques, it happens in yoga communities, it happens any place that you bring people together. And the reason why it happens is because everybody's not the same. We are not monolithic. There are going to be things that people do or say that you will not like. But the key to thriving in community, the key that holds community together is being able to speak to those challenges. And when I say speak to those challenges, to be able to speak to the person who you have issue with, to be able to speak to that person and not Sally Sue or Jim Bob or somebody else, not what we typically do, which was, girl, guess what she said? Who does she think she is? But as opposed to doing that, being able to go to the person you have issue with, I'll call her Mary, and be able to say to her, Mary, I need some clarification or help me to understand, or when you said this or that, this is how it made me feel. And you may say, well, that's therapist language. Well, it's actually balanced good health language, because what happens when you say, Mary, when you said, and then you say what Mary said, it made me feel. You are owning this is how you responded to it. It's not the same as saying, Mary, you made me feel such and such. No, Mary did not make you feel anything. It's how you decided to respond to it. And that's important for good communication, to take ownership of your own feelings. Now, if you have that conversation or just a desire, or you take the risk to be able to express how you feel, what you may find out is that Mary may not have meant it the way that you received it. And that happens a great deal. We'll hear something. I know for me, because I'm not really seeing people, I'll read something on social media, and I'll have to read it more than once, because my first time reading it, it's given me a response that I may feel slightly angry or like, what? And then when I reread it, I realize, no, I was reading it from a particular lens. I was maybe overemphasizing some of the words, but if I switched it up and read it in a more non-biased way, it was less offensive. But unfortunately, what a lot of us do, as soon as we encounter some words or dialogue that we find offensive, we automatically decide cutting them off, or I'm going to cuss them out, or they're going to get told. And we don't stop to check in. And so we begin to destroy community based on our assumptions. We're destroying or putting chinks into the armor of community based on how we received it. And how we received it is important, but how many of you know how we receive things is really based on our lens, it's based on our previous encounters, it's based on what may or may not be being triggered within us. I was watching an Instagram video of two comedians who were talking, and one of the things that I noticed was that how easily they were able to flow and banter with each other. And one of the things I thought about was, if one of them had been talking to someone else, I wonder if the flow would have gone the same way. I wonder if the other person may have gotten offended by what was being said, because most of you know this for sure. There are some people who can say things to you and you laugh and kiki hee hee hee, that's funny, girl. Yeah, I know. But let somebody else say the exact same thing to you in the exact same tone, and now we offended. Now we want to fight. Now we don't want to be bothered with them. Now we want to talk about them like a dog. And what we'll say is, you don't know me like that. Well, that is a point, but I would invite you to look deeper. Why were you able to accept it from person A, who said the exact same thing to you, but it's totally different when person B says it? And I'm not talking about two different races, okay, because that has all kinds of other sociological implications and things like that. I'm talking about people from your own race, people from your own community. Why are we better able to accept it here, but not here? And again, the challenge is to look a little bit deeper. What is it about the first person that allows me to be a little bit more accepting than what I am with person B? Maybe sometimes the answer may be that we don't necessarily trust person B. Maybe we don't know them well enough to know what their intentions are. Maybe we've not given them a chance to get to know us. So there's things that we can actually look at to see, how am I communicating or not communicating? We talked a couple of weeks ago about people when they find things offensive, they don't say anything at all. They just hold that anger inside or hold that hurt inside. And then when they get a chance, either they retaliate or they just cut the person off. But retaliation, cutting people off, does not build a community. And we've been talking about the need for community, the need for unity, a need to have a strong force of people in our lives. When I say strong, I mean people who emotionally get us. People who, and let me take that back. They don't necessarily emotionally have to get you, but you all have decided to be community around a common goal, around a common mission. So let's take church, for example. Ideally, the reason why we go to church is because we love the Lord. But for a lot of people, that is not the reason why they come. Sometimes they come because it's a good nursery. Sometimes they come because they like the singing. Sometimes they come because it fits their time frame. It's early enough they can leave and go to brunch. Whatever your reason is, no shade, your reason, you like it, I love it. But when we start to talk about working in the church, being in different ministries, being in different groups, that's when the rubber begins to meet the road. And unfortunately, in a place where we talk about loving each other so much, sometimes we struggle the most with Sister Sally or Brother Bill or whoever. And that's where communication really needs to step up, because we are a community of believers. We're a community that follows a similar faith, of similar theological undergirding. And so we really can't afford to allow the pettiness to disrupt our common goal. See what I'm saying? And this is not just about church people. This happens in schools. This happens in temples. This happens in Girl Scouts, Boy Scouts, sororities. It happens in any place where people gather. So I invite you, as we consider building community, as we consider why we need community, because community helps us to thrive. It helps us to grow. It helps us to be our best person. That communication is the key to reaching those goals. Communicating, open communication where we're willing to say what we mean, and we're willing to listen to the other person's response without automatically deciding, I don't believe what they say no matter what they say. But there's an openness, a willingness to hear a possible another side of the story. And even if you come to the place where you agree to disagree, you still agree to be in community. Community is really, really important. Without community, we will not survive. Without community, we will not thrive. Without community, we will not be able to build a living legacy for those who will come after us. So the songwriter says, I need you, you need me. We need to be in community. But community takes work, And I know that you're up for the task. I know that you're up for the task. So I commend you and I encourage you to continue to work on communicating within your community, letting people know how you feel and being open for their feedback of how they receive you. Because all that will do is help you to build a stronger foundation so that collectively you all can achieve much more than what you can achieve as an individual. And we're going to do that on purpose. Love you all. Thank you all for the prayers for my healing. It's getting there. I'm 64, so you don't heal as quickly as you used to, but I'm believing and I'm standing on I will be better, and this pain will just be a memory. Talk to you later. See you tomorrow. Bye-bye.